Hi, congratulations on winning the 11 Second Club for this month. I saw your work. It looks really, really good. My name is Nicole Herr. I am a senior freelance character animator, and I am a senior mentor here with Animation Mentor. Over the years, I've worked on lots of things, animals and creatures, humans, realistic, cartoony, lots of different things. So work that you would see out there that's mine, Watchmen, I animated Doc Manhattan and Bubastis. I'm Legend, I did the humans and the deer, Open Season, Surf's Up, Legend of the Guardians, the Owls of Ga'Hoole, Sucker Punch, lots of different things. You can find out a little bit more about me by going to my website, NicoleHerr.com. So let's take a look at the animation together. I really like what you've done with the sound clip. So let's take a look at this together.
You need to get back to your seat.
I had one in the bathroom with no windows. I suffer from aviophobia. It means fear of dying.
Sir, for your own safety, sit down, or else I'll make you sit down.
One of the things that I really like about this particular take on it is that you have the two characters, and they both have their own feeling to them. And what I really like is I like that he is very animated. She's a lot calmer, which is that contrast between her control and his lack of control is actually really nice to see in here.
You need to get back to your seat.
And you've got some just really nice arcs, like this arm swipe. She's pulling his arm. You're getting a really nice sense of that swipe, and I see that you've drawn the arm on him, going through her. On cleanup, you'd want to definitely go in there and clean those up, but really nice job. Now, what I'd love to see is just a little bit more of a follow-through on his hair. So you've got this, he's turning around, you've got a really nice ability to get that shape as he's turning around, actually to hold form, which is not always the easiest thing to do. Having a character turn through space and yet still hold on to its volume in traditional, not always the easiest thing. But what I'd love to see you do is drag that hair behind just a little bit more than you've got going right now. So you're here, you've got the hair here, which is nice. Go up a little bit. But here, I'd love to see, just a little bit more follow through on this part of the hair. I think would go a really long distance to helping you. It just adds just a tiny little bit of extra fluidity. Since you've got that piece and it's loose, then it'd be nice to just see it just a little bit more drag and follow through. Just a little bit more. So that it definitely has that extra sense of overlap. Let's turn this down some. And using your S-curves to C-curves to really help get that shape to change. All right, and then looking at your spacing, just a little bit more. Like here, this is really cool, and I like how you're really holding onto that pose, and it's holding really nicely. But then you pop between 39 and 40. That's a big head pop. So what I might do would be maybe put in just a tiny little bit here of just a little bit more of an anticipation here to get over. So maybe he comes over with his head just a little bit so that you're anticing into this big head move. Instead of just popping into it, giving your character just a little tiny bit more anticipation. All right, and then here, this is nice, but if you put in an eye blink, just a very simple eye blink right here, that'll help then when he gets up into here, give your character somewhere to go from and to. So if you use that to act as an internal face squash. Then when you get up into this big moment where he's up at his high point, his eyes are really big, then what you're doing is you're creating that extra little pop, that extra little pizzazz into this moment in time. So allowing your character to just live and accentuate by using what's already in there. All right, and this, I love how you have him coming forward into her space, and then he goes back into her space here. Doesn't really feel like he's looking at her. He feels like he's looking up here, so I might drop his eyes down just a little bit so that it feels more like he's looking at her. So see how that eye line, like you've got him looking up high, and I'm not quite sure exactly where he's looking, because if he's trying to connect with her, listening to the dialogue, if he's trying to connect with her, just more of a straight eye line to her would be really nice to have, and hopefully is not that difficult to add. And then here, I get the eye roll, but I'd love to see more of it. So sort of same thing. If he starts his eye line a little lower, like right now he looks like he's looking there, but if he starts his eye line a little lower, then you can get a really nice eye roll through this action and get it to really read. And then I love that hand pose. I love these. That's really nice. It's a really good dramatic hand pose.
Sir, for your own safety, sit down, or else I'll make you sit down.
Right. And I love that she pulls out the gun on him. Now, just for continuity between these two shots, one of the things that I would do, see how he's feeling like he's got his shoulders sort of high and at this moment? If you do that here, where you accentuate that shoulder line up just a little bit, what you can do to keep him alive is to put just a tiny little bit of his shoulders go down, maybe a little tiny bit of a drift in him. That would really go a long way. Like you've got definitive poses, but I don't feel like you've spent a lot of time like on the second shot on him. It's obvious you're spending the time on her. And I'd love to see him be a little bit more fleshed out in this second shot. He's got this big reaction here, but it's just in the head. I'm not, he was so animated before where he was all over the place. And then in this shot, it feels like a completely different character because he doesn't have any of the energy that he had before. And I would love to see some more of that initial shot energy. Like she's pulled a gun on him. I would love to see more of a reaction from him. Maybe his shoulders come into frame. Just something a little bit more on him that keeps him in this whole feeling of this energy level. And maybe he does like a little head turn to look at the people who are in the plane. He just feels a little too calm. And I would love to see him be just a little less calm at this moment. But this is really nice.
No window. I suffer from aviophobia. It means fear of dying.
Sir, for your own safety, sit.
And I love your timing. The timing's working really well, and I know that you're getting it from the sound. The sound is, how could you miss with this sound? The sound is awesome, and you've done a really good job with it.
You need to get back to your seat.
And I like her here at the beginning, running in. Really nice arc. But I feel like her arm comes here and just sort of stops. So let's use a different color for her. So her arm comes up, does this really nice arc. So I'm going to draw this bottom line here so that I can see what the arc is doing. And then it just sort of stops. And I'm not getting an overshoot settle. So what I would recommend doing on here is she's pulled that arm back really quickly. So here, if we get rid of that drawing. Okay, so here, if she pulls that arm a little bit further forward, so you're overshooting and settling. You're going past and then back on that arm. Then what you'll do is you'll create just a little bit more of a sense that arm is just a little bit more alive, and that she doesn't just come to a stop.
You need to get back to your seat.
I had one in the bathroom.
So you get that just a little bit more of an overshoot settle. I like this. I feel like it's very centrally located in her shoulders, just in the shoulder, like you've grabbed these bones and just pulled them up. For this to really work, it needs to come a little bit more into her body. That whole joint, the shoulder joint actually rotates basically from here. It goes up. It's not just translating this up. It's this whole bone. So if I put this here, it's that bone goes up and down. So if you want to accentuate that, you need to get a little bit more from inside. And then she goes down. And I think that this going down, you could make this a little bit more staccato, a little bit more of a hit. Right now, she's just very softly placing them down, but if you listen to how she says the dialogue, turn the volume up a little.
Get back to your seat now.
Now, it's a very hard sound. It's a very, very specific thing. Your shoulders are very soft. So she's going now, and the shoulders are going now. So if you want to really tie those together, what you want to do is you want to get those shoulders just a little bit more staccato and bounce them down. So you overshoot, once again, overshoot, settle, bounce. So you have that beautiful anticipation up to bounce it down and really accentuate that word now, that she's really had enough.
Yeah, it means fear of dying.
Sir, for your own safety, sit down.
Okay, and then this is working really nicely. I like that you've got the eye roll on her, and you're cutting on the action on that, which is really nice. But in this one, her head feels like it's here. And then you've almost jump cut it forward. I feel like in this, her head is angled this way. And then on this frame, I feel like she's up and then bounces back a little bit. So I feel like her head's a little wobbly. And I clean that up just
Sit down, or else I'll make you sit down.
And then I love using the sound to act as a gun. I think overall you've done a
get back to your seat.
I had one in the
It's
bathroom with no windows. I suffer from aviophobia. It means fear of dying.
Sir, for your own safety, sit down, or else I'll make you sit down. You need to get back to your seat.
I had one in the bathroom with no windows. I suffer from aviophobia.
Yeah. I think it's honestly, it's just little tiny details. Overall, this is really, really a nice animation piece. It's really nice. It's just little tiny details, like a little bit more on the overshoot settles. Your hands are really nicely done, and those are not easy. And I would just look at some of the shapes that you're creating, like here on his arm. You know, his arm going through that action is really nice, but then it feels like this shape is a little weird to transition into this. And I know what you're doing is you're trying to get these curves. And this is nice. This breakdown is nice. But I feel like this one could be just a little bit more, I don't know, going down into that. It just feels a little bit too drastic of a change between these two. So what I might do would be maybe soften this instead of having it be so arced. Maybe this arm is here, and maybe the hand is up a little bit higher, a little less like he's cutting his own throat. Let me pull that hand up and then go down. And then this, the transition from this here, this hand is here. That to the hand. Yeah, I see what you're trying to do, but I think that you're going a little too square on here. And then you're going into that. And then on this, sort of same thing. This is nice getting down here into this pose. And I really do like your hand poses. I think that for the most part, your hand poses are really good. And hands are not easy. But here I might split the difference just a little bit more so that your chart, and I might actually put an extra breakdown, but that way your chart ends up being a little less, like right now it's feeling like you're here and then you're way down here. But I don't feel like there's any real breakdown in between. But what I might do is change it so that your chart ends up being a little bit more ease in. Come on, pen. More ease in. And then with actually a little bit of an overshoot settle on that one also. So that I would actually drop down to here and then go back up. So the chart is going to do that, overshoot settle. All right, but right now I feel like there's a lot missing in that middle part in this action.
In the bathroom with no windows. I suffer from aviophobia. It means fear of dying.
Sir, for your own safety, sit down, or else I'll make you sit down.
But yeah, seriously, this is really, really nice. You've done a very good job on this. I'm going to turn down the volume.
You need to get back to your seat.
I had one in the bathroom with no windows. I suffer from aviophobia. It means fear of dying.
Sir, for your own safety, sit down, or else I'll make you sit down.
Now, as a secondary thing with this shot, this is really nice, and you've done a very good job with it. As a secondary thing on this shot, what I might do would be add a little tiny bit of life to the background characters. So after you've gone in, you've cleaned up maybe some of the lines a little bit, you've played around with your spacing just a little bit more, overshoot settles, throw in that blink on the big head turn so that he hits his apex on the eyes wide and you're coming from somewhere into something big so that you get that really nice contrast. I would probably add just a little bit to the background characters. You know, so you've got all these guys in the background, nice, simple, but like this guy, it'd be nice if when she pulls out the gun, he just sort of does like a little tiny head turn. Doesn't need to be much, and like these guys back here, I wouldn't do anything with. But this guy, because he's so central in the shot, I, either put headphones on him and have him sitting there and maybe he's got his headphones on, a little tiny bounce to his head, something, so that it feels like he's alive too. That would be really cool. And maybe this guy could be looking out the window or something. But the problem is that your very center of the screen is that guy. So even though he's a background character, that little wedge, trust me, our audience is going to be looking at her and at this other guy. But between her and McCoy, yes, I know where the audio came from. Between her and McCoy is this guy who's very centered in the frame. So what I would highly recommend doing is giving him life, because unfortunately we can see him. And we can see him pretty well.
You need to get back to your seat.
These guys, on this first shot, we're not really seeing them. We're seeing them from behind. If McCoy ends up hitting the chair of the one guy, either have him react to the chair or have the chair react to him. But if McCoy actually hits this guy's chair, having him like turn his head a little bit, not a lot, but just enough to give him life. That's the thing with background characters. You don't just want them standing there. You do want, if they're going to be very centered in the frame, you do want to have a little bit of something with them.
You sit down.
Right?
But
overall,
I think that
you've done a really nice job on this. I would, on her, I'd make sure that these little things, like her hair, the little neck scarf, that the overlapping action on those makes sense. check her volume on her turn. Like this turn, I'm not quite sure why you're going there on this turn. I would probably keep her volume a little bit more facing us, because it's just, I'm not quite sure why you're doing the turn.
You're dying.
Sir, for your own safety, sit down, or else I'll make you sit.
Because, and I think you're doing it for the hookup, but you don't need it for the
Or else
hookup.
I'll make you sit down.
And then, of course, don't forget on this shot, you've got all of the extra, wow, it changed colors on me. You have all the extra body parts on her. So, you know, on this shot, you still have parts that are not there on her outfit. So either go with the simpler drawing of this, or go with this one, but don't change your outfit between. All right. Overall, really awesome job. Congratulations. This is a really, really solid piece of animation. It's just, you know, there are minor things that I would go in and tweak. But yeah, no, really good job. Congratulations. And I look forward to seeing where you go in the future. So really good job. Thank you.